Hello everybody, I am EricDidier, and today I'm going to be showing you guys lawn shadows in text in Adobe After Effects. A lot of people know of the drop shadow, which is one way to make text look good. Well, lawn shadows is going to be a way to both make text look good and animate it both in and out. I'm going to be showing you a couple ways to animate it in, a couple ways to animate it out, and hopefully you guys can learn something from this tutorial and use it in something of your own good. On to the tutorial. So once you're in Adobe After Effects, what we're going to do is we are going to make the shadows that you saw in the introduction. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by making a text. We're going to make it just, let's make it a random off red color. Let's just name this text, type in text, and then I have this pretty good align tool. We're just going to align this. And it looks like that. You got text, you've got the text itself. Now we have to make the shadows. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this text layer and we're going to create shapes from text. Now what you're going to do is you're going to name one of these shadows. You're going to duplicate it. You're going to name one of these the top text. And we're going to work from there. So this top text is what you're going to see here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make the stroke. I'm going to make it the same color as the text itself, and then I'm going to give this a stroke of 2. So what you see is this. You've got the text, it's got a stroke of 2. That will come in handy later. I'll explain why. So then the shadows is what we're going to be affecting next. So if we take this text off, we're going to put a fill on this, and what we're going to do is we're going to make this. Actually, whoops, that was a terrible drop. We're going to make this a different color than what this top text is. So if we just eyedrop tool this and then make it darker, you can change the brightness. It doesn't have to be too much. That's about good so that it looks something like this. What we're going to do is in the options, we're going to expand this. And in this contents, you have the T, the E, the X, and the T. Now there's a lot of different things that you can do with these, and we're going to go over some of those in different videos. But today what we're going to do is we're going to add a repeater. Now you see this T repeating. I actually did that wrong. So if that happens to you, you did it wrong. You accidentally selected something you shouldn't have. Select just the layer itself, add repeater. Now you see this text repeating itself. So if we open up the repeater, you can see it's got copies. You can make as many copies as you want. You can have 0 copies and it's nothing, and you can animate it in. So that's going to be coming in handy in a little bit. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to make 100 copies. Now I know what you're thinking, bear with me. So what we're going to do is going to leave it composite below, offset at 0. In this transform option, we can transform where these pieces are going to be positioned in relation to the one before it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 and 1. So when we let go, here's your shadow. This right here is the shadow. And if we zoom in, you get this pixely thing here. So if we were to say do 2, 2, you can see that's a little bit more pixely. So if we do just 1, 1, it's very hard to distinguish what exactly it is. And from here, I mean, you can see a little bit in the corners here, a little bit in the corners here, but that's okay. When we bring in this top text layer, there it is. You have the text, you have the shadow, you have everything that you need. So to animate this, it's pretty simple. We're going to do one way of animating this right now, and let's just say let's move ahead to 2 frames for now. Let's bring this top text, let's leave it off, open bracket to snap it to the marker. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make the copies 100, keyframe that there on the shadows layer, because that's where we want to end. Sometimes it's easier to work backwards. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this 0. So what you see here is it expands, and then it comes from here. So that's something that you can look into. It starts here, and then it goes out. So one thing that we can do is we can bring this text layer in. We can have it say, let's just want to say we want to scale. So if we scale it, go forward 2 frames, you can page down to go frames instead of everything else, and then 110. And since actually, one easier way to do it that I find, instead of changing the anchor point, because that's just annoying sometimes, we can make this a 3D layer. And then what we can do is we can put the position of this layer all the way up here. So let's just make this 0. Here, we'll keyframe it. We'll go forward 2 frames, make it negative 360 look pretty good. Bring it way up, and then go forward 2 more frames. Bring it back down to 0, and then make this layer begin at that point. Easy frames to make it look smoother. And then what you see is you've got this little bump, and then it brings out the text. So we can go in here. I think 360 is a little bit much, to be honest with you. Let's just do negative 200. It's a little bit. It's not much. In and out. Oh, I changed all the keyframes. Oops, that's bad. Change this one to 0, and this one to 0. Comes in, goes out, in, out, and then it starts the shadow, which we can also easy ease, make it look good. We're gonna go into the graph editor and just kind of bring these, drag these out a little bit. We want it to start fast, start slow, go fast, and then slowly reach the end. In fact, I think I'm just gonna, you can play around with these values and figure out what works for you. I kind of like this fast in the middle, tapers off in the beginning and the end thing. Looks good. Seems to stop a little bit at this point, or maybe it doesn't. Just kind of see and preview it, see what it looks like. From the preview, it looks normal, but sometimes it's not quite the desired effect that you're looking for, so you might want to change some values and change some things around. So we've got the text, slowly draws out. Now that does seem a little bit long, so what we can do is say we only want this to last a second. Let's bring this keyframe, hold shift to snap, boom, it only lasts a second. So what we can do is we can take all of this, right click, pre-compose, name this text 1. Now at a second, what we can do is we can bring in an effect called Venetian Blinds. This is something that I've kind of recently discovered and recently taken a liking to. Let's just make this a negative 30-degree angle. We'll leave the width, let's drop down to 10. And what you see is it has this Venetian Blinds effect. So this is one way, if you're doing a quote-unquote hipster-style intro, this is one way to do a very good transition. So what we'll do is we'll keyframe it there. Let's just go forward 10 frames, and then you've got 100%. Shoop. We can always easy ease these as well. I like easy ease. It just makes everything look smooth, makes everything go by nicely. We can probably just bring this to, let's say, a second and 5 frames, just so that it has a little bit of time after it stops, and then it'll fade out. Now we can do another one fading in. So we can do, just do another text. Let's name this text 2. Let's make this let's make it a light blue with a light blue stroke as well. Although we can leave that as 2. Then we're going to create shapes from text again. We've got the outlines. We're going to rename this shadow. I'm going to duplicate it, hitting enter to rename. And then name this one top. Take all of these, align them appropriately. Actually, you can't. Selection, composition. There you go. Then we have this here. And what we can do is we can start from the shadow to come up. So what we'll do is we'll take the position of the shadow, actually the position of the top. We're going to duplicate this, name one the bottom. And then what we can do is hit P for position, take this, hit just the right arrow to go to the end, subtract it by 101. So it moves over. And then take this one, subtract it by 101. Or maybe we need to be adding, it looks like. There it is. This one I'm just going to add to while we're at it. So you can play around with the values and see what looks good. Drag this one underneath everything. So we've got the bottom, the shadow, and the top. So then from here, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the shadow and keyframe, alt-click, just make this the position of the bottom layer there, so the shadow comes in at the same time. So these two, the shadow and the bottom, are the same position, so we can work from there. So when we open this up and start to bring in the repeater, it's going to repeat the same, so we'll go through the same process. What we're going to do is we're going to keyframe this. Actually, I'm in the transform, I'm in the wrong one. That's always something to make sure. If something doesn't work, make sure that you're in the right area, because I almost just made a pretty big mistake. So let's do 100 copies again, because that's what we're going to need to get to the top. And then we're going to composite above this time. So then when we transform this repeater, we're going to go position -1, -1. And then what you see is it comes up. So what instead we can do then is when we keyframe this, let's just move this over to a second in advance, shift to snap. Then when we click back here and go the opposite way, you will see it comes in from there. So what we can do then is you can choose to have this bottom layer. Sometimes I would do the same effect with the positioning of the 3D positioning, so I would scale, I would go back 4 frames, position, let's just do -100, and then 2 more frames, position 0, and then just move this over a frame just to give it some time to start, and then it'll come back up to here, which then, to the top layer, do the same thing. Open bracket to make it begin there, keyframe that position, make it 3D. That's good. 2 frames, -100, 2 frames, 0. So we need to fill in the shadow and the bottom layer so that they are the same color and a little bit darker. We'll worry about the Venetian blinds in a second. We can fill in the shadow, make it this color but darker, brightness down, and then just copy that fill and paste it onto the bottom layer as well. So what you have is you have this text 2, which I need to then make start here. You have this text, and for some reason the shadow's not working because the keyframes are over there. So what we'll do is we will snap it to here, and that way you've got this text that comes out. Actually, what we should do here, what we can do here is scale this. So if we scale the bottom layer, keyframe it there, go back a couple frames. You can change the anchor point for the sake of this tutorial. I'm just going to leave it as such. Scale it up. It does this little boop, and then it comes in with the shadow. And then we just need to keyframe this, move over this top layer appropriately so that it comes in at the right time. Right there. So then you've got this text, it boops in, and then it draws in, boop, and then you've got your text. So then with those 2 layers, what you can do is pre-compose this, name it text 2, and then just bring in me talking. Let me scale this. That's a great freeze frame, by the way. Very good freeze frame. Let's transform, fit to comp. I still look a little bit drunk, and I have a nice little wind in my head and the hair that I got going on there. So let's just see. We've got this text. Let me slide this over so I can have me talking there. So we've got this. All the keyframes and properties are there. We can just slide these over so that they kind of don't interfere with me talking. And there you have it, folks. You've got a text that comes in. It boops up. It gives you a shadow. It has a Venetian blind fade out. And then you've got another text that scales in, boops, draws a shadow up, and then your top layer boops in. Actually, I might just want to move these over just a little bit more. So there you have it, folks. Hopefully this is going to be beneficial to you. You can use this in other uses, like if you're talking and you want some motion typography, you can use it for that. There's so many uses for this This is just giving you some ideas, tips, and tricks, and helping you teach different things that you can do with text in order to make your desired effect. So I hope that this is helpful to you. If you learned something today, give this video a thumbs up. I know that some of the keyframes that I did weren't necessarily the best, but like I said, this is giving you different ways to do things so that you can take what you learned in this video, apply it to your own After Effects stuff, and make it great. So if you use anything that you learned here in this video and you use it in your own stuff, link it below, give me a comment with a link to your stuff, or tweet me, or whatever you guys need to social media me with to show me what you do with this. Let me know. I'd love to see it. I'll share it around and help you get exposure too. So as always, thank you for watching. Until next time.